The Gingham Square Dance quilt pattern. This is one of my free quilt patterns that I offer. I had started mine during a live probably over a month ago now. And then in another live, I did a little bit more work on it, and I just kind of realized that I was really dragging my feet with getting that quilt done. So in this video, I am going to be finishing up my Gingham Square Dance quilt. It looks so cute. It's sitting right over here. You'll have to wait till the end of the video to see the finished quilt top, but it looks so good. It was so much fun to make. I love quick projects like this. I can't wait for you to see the progress and the process of making this quilt. If you're a brand new quilter, this is such a great pattern for you. You're gonna get perfect practice sewing straight seams, cutting, pressing, all of the things. Nesting seams, which is an important part of quilt making if you're going to be doing traditional quilt piecing. If this is something that you're interested in, please keep watching. And if you would like this pattern, there's going to be a link down in my description box below where you can just give me your email and your first name. And what's going to happen is when you sign up, you will get a confirmation email sent to your email address where you got to click a button to confirm your email, because I just want to make sure that everyone that's signing up is actually signing up. When you get a confirmation email, when you click the button and confirm, then you will get the quilt pattern. So just wanted to let you know about that, and just thank you so much for clicking on this video. Enjoy it. I hope you learned something or you have fun sewing along with me. This is a really great video to just kind of come and sew along with me. Without further ado, let's jump into the tutorial. If you're following along in the pattern, where we left off was step number 3, which is when we're actually going to be cutting our pieces out of our strips. If you didn't see the lives, basically this quilt pattern is so simple but really looks so cute. So you just need 3 fabrics, a light, medium, and dark fabric. I'm using some really beautiful solids. This hot pink is my dark, the orange is my medium, and then for my light I chose a light pink, and it's really, really cute. We've kind of named this the Willy Wonka quilt because of the colors, which I hadn't planned, but you know what? I just think Willy Wonka whenever I see it now. So if you didn't see the previous steps, step 1 is cutting all of the strips and sewing them together. And in the pattern, I have listed out everything that you need to cut, and then I show you how to sew the strips together. I try to make it as simple as possible, so even if you've never quilted before, you'd be able to make this. So I just show how to sew them together, what they'll look like, that sort of thing. Then, step 2 is pressing your seams. And I get asked all the time, is pressing your seams important? How do you press your seams? Tell us everything about how you press seams and stuff like that. For this quilt, it's very simple. So for one color combination, so for the dark and medium fabrics, you press all of the seams to one side. And then for the light and medium fabric combinations, you press all of the seams to the opposite side. And the reason why we do that is then when we're going to put our pieces together, which I will show you later in this video, but when you put the pieces together, then the seams do what's called nesting, which is when they're just placed perfectly together and you get really crisp points wherever those fabrics meet, which is going to make a lot more sense when I'm actually showing you it. I don't know if I'm super great at explaining it in words, but when I'm actually doing it, I'm much better at explaining it. So that's step 2, was just pressing seams, which I've already done. We already started cutting some of the strips. Here's one piece that we've already cut, but then I have all the rest of my strip pieces that have yet to be cut. So I have these, and then I have the larger strips in both color combos to cut as well. Now we're caught up to step 3, cutting out the pieces. So as you can see, we're cutting out all of our pieces from our chunks. So See, we had these, right? All of these strip combos. And now we're gonna cut them into strips. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll bring you over to my cutting mat, and kind of show you how I cut them so they're square. It's very easy, very simple. And again, this is such a great beginner pattern. If you know anyone that would like this pattern, go ahead and send them this video. I'm happy to have whoever wants the pattern have the pattern. So let's get those strips cut out. And then the fun begins when we actually start combining the strips and seeing the gingham pattern come to life. So here we are at my cutting mat. I've got my strips. I've already cut out some from this. So I've got 9. I actually need 10 of these strips. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut it. It needs to be 3.5 inches. The way that I like to do this, so I use the lines of my ruler to get everything square. What that means is first I find my 3.5 inch line, horizontal 3.5 inch. I line it with this edge here of the fabric. Let's zoom in a little bit. So we got 3.5 inches here. Then I like to line up my vertical lines with the seams of the strips. So I'll kind of move it so one of my black vertical lines is lined up with the different seams. Okay, and then I just cut out my 3.5 inch strip. Then I need to move it down a little ways. And again, I line up my 3.5 inch line here. And then I line up my vertical lines. Then I continue cutting. And there we have it. So there is my 10th strip. So I'm gonna set that aside, and that's how I'm gonna cut all of the rest of my strips. So I'm gonna set these aside. Don't throw this out. Keep this. You could use this for something else. I love to keep my scraps. So now I'm just gonna continue with my other set of 3.5 inch strips, okay? So I am going to lay these out. And first I'm gonna get a nice straight bottom edge. The way that I do that is I want to line up my vertical lines with the seams, and that's gonna help me get a really nice edge on the bottom edge. And I'm just gonna cut off this selvage. Line up those vertical edges again and continue cutting. Now I have a nice straight line to start with for my 3.5 inch strips. So again, I get that 3.5 inch line lined up. Then I also like to line up my vertical lines with the seams to make sure we're nice and square. All right, and then I cut. And there we have our strip. I'm just gonna keep on cutting till I have 10 of these.
Yesterday there was sun and there was rain, beauty in the mundane. And as the light startled our eyes, we let go of disguise. And now there's something in the air and a sparkly shimmer on our skin, restoring everything within. Oh, dreamy, breezy, we go easy, easy.
All right, so I have all of my strips with my smaller pieces cut. So I'm gonna set those all aside. And now we're gonna cut our 6.5 inch strips. I need to cut 6.5 inch strips but my ruler is only 6 inches wide. That means I'm gonna have to use the lines of my cutting mat and my ruler together. I'm gonna show you how to do that, but first I am going to, again, get my nice straight edge first. So I'm gonna line up vertical lines with my seams to make sure I'm getting a nice straight bottom edge. Now, what I'm going to do is first I'm gonna move the camera. So this is the edge that I just cut. So I'm gonna line this edge up with a horizontal line on my cutting mat. So just for example, I'm gonna line it up with my 2-inch line. It doesn't matter which inch you line it up with, okay? You just want it to be lined up with a line. So I'm gonna line it up with my horizontal 2-inch line all the way across. I want it lined up. And then I also want this edge lined up with a vertical line of my ruler or of my mat. And what that is doing is it's getting me nice and square. I need an extra 1/2 inch, right? Because this is 6 inches and my pieces that I need to cut are 6.5 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line the edge of my ruler up with the 1/2 inch past the line that I have it lined up with. I hope this is making sense. What that's doing is it's just adding a 1/2 inch to my piece, right? And make sure that this whole edge is lined up with the edge of the fabric, which it is. And then I'm lined up with the 1/2 inch here. I've got an added 1/2 inch of fabric. So then when I cut it, it's going to be 6.5 inches wide. So, and then I want to make sure that, again, my vertical lines on my ruler are lined up with the seams. And that's going to make sure that I get an extra 1/2 inch all the way across down here, okay? So everything stays square. And then you really want to make sure that your ruler does not move when you are cutting. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut. Take it nice and slow. It's not a race. And then I move my ruler down. And then on this end, let me move the camera up so you can see what I'm talking about. On this end, then I want to line up the edge of my ruler with that 1/2 inch line of my mat and make sure that I have a vertical line on my ruler lined up with the edge of this fabric. And again, that's making sure that I have a 1/2 inch, an extra 1/2 inch added all the way across. I'm gonna finish cutting. And there I have my 6.5 inch strip. See, that's not so hard. It's not so bad. I'll show you another one just to make sure that you understood what I meant. So again, I'm gonna move this down. The line's the same line that I used before, just so I'm not getting confused. I'm lining it up square in this corner. Let me move this back just a little bit so you can see. So I'm square in this corner. Then I take my ruler and I line it up with that 1/2 inch, so 2.5 inch line. You don't have to do it at the 2 inch though. You could do it at the 1 inch. You could do it at the 15 inch if you wanted to. It's just using that squareness of the markings on your cutting mat is what's important. So then I line up the edge here with the edge of the fabric, and then I line up this line with that 2.5 inch mark on the mat. And I make sure that my fabric is all lined up with that 2 inch line on the mat. Also, my vertical markings are lining up with the seams. And then I'm gonna cut. Move it down and squaring up my fabric with my ruler and finish cutting. And there we go. 6.5 inch strip cut. So I'm just gonna keep on doing this with this fabric and then the other color combination strips. And then we'll get to actually sew them together, and that's the fun part. This would be such a great kids quilt to make. Like if you have a child that's interested in quilting, this would be a really great quilt for them to make because they're learning the basics of quilting and they're going to get really good practice with cutting, really good practice with pressing their seams. And it's really cute. I feel like kids would really like the pattern. It's really cutesy, and it's not, a lot of kids, when their first quilt that they make, it's like super basic, like just strips sewn together. Well, that's what this is, but it's just, you know, a little bit more fun and playful as a design. So if you have a child that's interested in quilting, this would be a really fun quilt to make with them. Can you sense the light at the end of the tunnel? So we're very close. We're very close. The rest of this should only take, I would guess, maybe an hour. We'll see. I got all of my pieces cut. So I have 10 of each of the small 3.5 inch strips. So cute. So I've got those in this color combo and this color combo. And we're going to be sewing these together. And then I have my 6.5 inch colors or strips. I have my 6.5 inch strips, and I have 6 of each of these. I've got these. I'm going to set these aside. We'll start with the little ones just because that's just the order I've been going in. We have completed step 3. Now we get to move on to step 4, which is assembling the sections. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 5 of each of our smaller strips, and we're going to place them every other one, starting with the ones with the dark and medium colors. If you're using different colors than I am, that should help. But so we're going to take 5 of each, and I've got it drawn out here with a little diagram so you can see what your little layout should look like. And then this is what it'll look like when it's sewn together. And we're going to make 2 of these. And then we'll move on to the 6.5 inch ones. And we sew them together and it'll look like that. And we'll have 2 of those as well. Let's go ahead and get started on stitching, and I will show you how to nest the seams. And then once we have those sections made, then we will need to press our seams again, which I explain in the pattern as well. Let me thread my machine here real quick. Threaded that needle first try. Let's see. Do I need to swap out? I probably need to swap out the bobbin as well. Yep, blue. Check out this handy little thing. I got this from Missouri Star maybe a couple of years ago. But it's like this little container that holds your bobbins. It's very handy. I really like it. So I just open it up, put the old bobbin in, find my white thread bobbin, and there it is. And then my bobbins don't get all tangled, they don't come unraveled or anything, and it's very handy. I really like this, and I'm sure they still sell it. It's just called the Hemline Gold Bobbin Box. So if you want to use my Missouri Star Quilt Company link, you can. You can get 20% off any $50 or more purchase. That does exclude a few things. I know that their new little Jenny toolbox is excluded from that, and some of their like subscription type boxes are excluded from that discount, but pretty much everything else you can use that discount on. So notions, templates, fabric, patterns, all that stuff. And you just need to spend $50 or more and you get 20% off. It's a great deal. It's really great. And you can use that as many times as you want throughout the month. There's no limit on how many times you can use it. If you like to use their like bundle program where you can like bundle stuff throughout the week, you could save a lot of money with that discount. So thank you everyone who does use it. I really appreciate it. I get a little kickback from it, which is really cool. So, all right, Now let's sew our strips together. Move our camera down here. I haven't done a tutorial in a long time. I feel like I'm a little rusty. All right, we'll zoom in a little bit here. Bingo. All right, so I'm gonna grab one of my medium and dark fabric combos and one of my light and medium combos. And then we are just gonna sew them together. So they're gonna be like that. You never want your two mediums together. So like if I was to flip this, I would know that this isn't right because the two oranges are not supposed to be together. That helps it stay semi-easy. So the medium color is going to be kind of like a checker pattern, if that makes sense. So your medium colors will never be touching side to side. Okay? So I'm gonna place these right sides together. And if you press your seams the way that I show you in the pattern, then when you look at them, see, this seam is going down and this seam is going up. Let's see if hopefully the camera focuses. So then here, where the seams come together and they're kind of folded nice and flat, that's called nesting your seams. And that is a beautiful thing. So you want those seams right up together, lined up, and it's going to line up all the way down. And it's such a satisfying feeling when that happens. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this together. We're going to use a 1/4 inch seam allowance like normal. And here we go. And just as you're sewing them together, you just want to make sure that the seams are laying the way that they are pressed when you're sewing over them. All right, are you ready for the grand reveal? Oh, look how perfect that little area right there is. Everything lines up perfectly all the way down, and that's because we nested our seams. Pretty cool. It looks pretty great. I love when that happens. It just looks so good. And that's why pressing is important, right? So now I grab another one of my dark and medium strip combos. My two oranges are touching. That's not how I want it. So I'm going to flip this over. There we go. I line them up, get my seams, nest my seams just like that, and then sew.
Tiptoes undercover, agents of the other, beyond gravel.
And there we have another section added. So cute. It looks so good. All right, so I'm just going to continue sewing these. So I'm going to have two sections that are going to have 5 of each of the strip combos, right? And so I'm going to have 2 when I'm done. I'm going to have 2 that are going to look like that. And then I'll also sew the other ones. We do the exact same thing with the bigger ones. You nest those seams and sew them together. And we will have 2 that will look like that, kind of a plaid looking design. And then I will catch back up with you. All right, we are very close to the end. Now I have all of my pieces sewn. So let me show you. Oh, I think I worded it as their section. So here's one section. Isn't that cute? Hopefully that's showing. Yep. So there's that. Very cute. So I have 2 of those. Okay. And then I have 2 of these. Aren't those adorable? I love the gingham pattern. It's just such a cute, classic design. And I really wanted to do a beginner-friendly quilt pattern that used the gingham pattern in it. but I didn't want to do just kind of like the basic, just the entire quilt, the same size squares. So that's why I chose 2 different sizes, and I think that works really, really well. And since we use the strip piecing method, it comes together so fast. I think you could make an entire quilt in like 10 hours or something. You can make it over a weekend, which is really great if you need a last minute gift, or if you just want a quilt that's not going to take a super long time to make. This looks so good. So now that we have all of our sections made, now we need to press our seams again that we just sewed. So on the back, we have these seams, these horizontal seams, right? And I am going to just press them all in the same direction. Super easy, it doesn't have to be fancy. If you prefer to press your seams open, some people do, then you can do that. I don't want to because it takes a whole lot of extra time and I just don't see the point in doing it. So, but some people do like pressing their seams open, and that's totally fine. You know, it's just not my choice of pressing. So I am just going to do that here. So I will kind of show you how I do it just in case you're not familiar with pressing seams, and we'll go from there. So I'm trying to get everything is kind of smushed in one little section here, but all right, let's point the camera down so you can see. So I'm just going to press them all in one direction. So I'm going to have all of the seams pressed going up. And if you prefer, you can have them all going down. It's totally up to you and what's comfortable to you and just what you prefer. So see, they're all going that way. And then I just continue doing that with all of the seams. And I'm going to do this with all of the sections. They're all just going to go in the same direction. I'm not going to be picky about it.
Hand in hand, building castles out of sand, reaching for the grand.
And then once I've pressed the seams, then I will just flip this over and just run my iron over the top just real quick to kind of set those seams. And just kind of make sure that everything is as flat as possible. That's what we want for our quilt top. Oh my goodness, this is going to be so cute. I love when a plan comes together. My quilt top is nice and flat. Or my little section, and there we have it. Now I'm just going to keep on doing this with the rest of the sections. I'm just going to press all of the seams in one direction and then press the other side just to make sure everything's flat, and then I will meet you back at the sewing machine when we're going to finish this quilt top. Okay, we are back at the sewing machine and we are ready to finish our quilt top, right? So our final step is to sew the sections together. So we need one section with the small squares and one section with the large squares, which I have here. We just sew them together. So I need to put them right sides together. So I'm going to do that here. Putting them right sides together with the small squares are going to be on the left side for this one, for this group. So there, I'm gonna put those together, line up the edge. There we go. And now we sew. There's one section. I'll wait to show you till I sew the other section. So I'm gonna just set that aside for right now. And then I'm gonna grab the other 2 pieces, and this time I'm gonna have the large squares on the left and the small squares on the right. Take my edges and line them up.
Breezy, we go.
Okay, let's move this back. But that is what one half of the quilt looks like. Looks pretty good. Looks just like the picture, right? So now I just take this and I put it with the other one and I put them right sides together. So that first one we did with the small squares on the left, I'm just going to put that right sides together with our bottom of the quilt, and just line up that edge that we're going to sew. And you can pin this in place if you want. I just never do that. But you can if you want. If that'll help you keep everything together. But now I gotta bring my chair back over here. Oh goodness. And now we're gonna sew our last seam and then we're gonna be done. So I'm just going to make sure that this is laying down properly. And now we sew. You want to make sure when you're sewing that you don't have a lot of tension going on. Since this does have quite a bit of seams on it, you want to make sure that you're not pulling on the fabric at all, especially at the seams, because that can kind of warp your seam and make it kind of wiggly woogly. That is the technical term. I just kind of do it little by little.
Undercover agents of the other, beyond gravel, beyond all. A bigger scale, the world in hand.
Oh, let me move the camera over so you'll be able to see it a little bit better. You can't see it. And there is our quilt top. You can see it kind of. Pretty cute, right? It looks just like the picture. Yeah, it looks so cute. I love it. Oops, it's upside down. There we go. So there we have it. We finally finished the Gingham Square Dance quilt. Don't forget, if you would like to get this free pattern, it's super fun, super easy, super quick. If you would like to get this pattern, you can just visit the link in my description box below and you can get this pattern for free. So thank you so much for watching this video. We finally finished it. And the next video on this quilt is going to be really fun because I'm going to show and attempt to use a pounce pad and stencil combo for the first time. I've never done that before, and I thought that would be a really fun thing to try out. So stay tuned for that. Please subscribe if you're not subscribed so you get notified. Oh, and you got to click that little bell. When you subscribe, a little bell pops up. If you click that and click the little bell with like a little parentheses, or not parentheses, yeah, parentheses around it, then that will notify you whenever I upload. So, and right now I'm trying to upload every Tuesday and Friday. So that's been my schedule and that's been working so far, though I have a lot of stuff planned coming up in the next few months and we'll see if I can keep up with that schedule. But I like pumping out the videos, but it does take a lot of time. So, but just thank you so much for watching. Please give this a like. Enjoy the pattern. I can't wait to see what you create. I love seeing everyone's renditions of this quilt. It's been a lot of fun seeing everyone. If you'd like to join our Facebook group, we've got almost 700 people in there now. So we are sharing all of our projects that we're working on and asking questions, and it's a really fun group over there. If you would like to join, it's free to join. Just thank you so much for watching and have a beautiful weekend and beautiful day. And I'll talk to you very soon. Bye-bye. What I didn't show in the video is earlier in the middle of sewing this, I got a migraine. And I literally felt like I was on a boat and my brain was going like that. And light, my eyes were like super sensitive to light. So I laid down for a couple of hours. Feeling better now. Hopefully it stays that way while I'm editing. And I can get this up on Friday. We'll see. All right, we are back at the sewing machine again. My battery's gonna die. Gotta switch it out. Obi, why didn't you tell me the battery was gonna die?